I aim. The Advent message to all the world in my generation. The motto, the love of Christ compels me. The pledge, loving the Lord Jesus, I promise to take an active part in the Adventist Youth Society, doing what I can do to help others and to finish the work of the gospel in all the world. The law. The law is for me to keep the morning watch, do my honest part, care for my body, keep a level eye, be courteous and obedient, walk softly in the sanctuary, keep a song on my heart, and go on God's errand.
Adventist youths are we from every land and sea. Together we pray and work and play in happy harmony. We have our faith to share with others everywhere. A message of love from God above to show the world we care. Adventist youth, Adventist youth, Adventist youth.
Nice. Let us all bow our heads for opening prayer. Holy Fathers, we're about to go into our AY program. This evening, we invite your presence here with us. We pray that we will learn a lot, that we will feel catered to and cared for from these presentations. We thank you for your holy Sabbath day of rest. In Jesus' holy and precious name we pray. Amen.
Welcome to Hope SDA's AOI Spotlight on My Safety Super Event. We've got lots to talk about with presenters who are experts in their field, and they're just excited to be sharing these positively impactful insights with us today. So reach out to your friends and family and ask them to join the conversation on
Chloe, unmute.
Oh, sorry guys, I'm not the best with technology. So we have a lot of exciting programs coming up we have some safety segments. You all should definitely stay tuned. You do not want to miss not one of these presentations. It's all on different things, and I promise you will find it interesting. And we even have a segment for you at the end, or question and answer segment, where you can chime in and you can ask your questions. So we're just going to jump right in so we don't have you guys waiting. JD, would you like to introduce our first speaker for us?
Yes. Our first speaker is Cameron Johnson, who is a third-year honors student at UConn, and she will be talking about campus safety.
Hello, everyone. I'll just share my screen and we'll get right into the presentation. All right, so as JD said, I'll be talking about campus safety, and the topics to be discussed will be party safety, personal safety, and the safety of others. And we'll just be talking about if you do end up attending a college party, to be mindful of certain things to ensure the safety of not only yourself, but your friends, and just your personal safety of your body when you're walking around campus or just existing in a campus atmosphere, and then how to be an ally in case somebody else you see is in danger, and how to protect your environment. So we'll start off with a little statistic. 200,000 sexual assaults a year involve alcohol, and many of these incidents occur at parties. And so I have a few tips for everyone about what to do at a party and able to ensure your safety. So first we have, don't leave your drinks unattended. And this doesn't mean just alcoholic drinks. This means anything, water, juice, any liquid that you're consuming, don't leave it unattended to ensure that it hasn't been spiked or that it hasn't been drugged. And this is just to make sure that your safety is ensured so that you don't end up in a compromising situation or a dangerous situation. And what goes along with this is don't accept drinks from someone you don't trust. This doesn't mean someone you don't know. Many times things that happen to us happen from people that we know, not strangers. So don't accept anything, again, any juice, water, or any liquid from somebody that you don't trust to have not put anything in it. The third thing, use the buddy system. This just means, well, first, don't go to a party alone if you can avoid it. Using the buddy system, if you go to the bathroom, bring a friend. If you're at a party, make sure you're with someone that you know and trust, and be aware of your surroundings. Number four, if especially most parties occur off campus. So just knowing where you are, your physical location in case of an incident, in case you're separated from your friends, just be aware of where you are and who you're with so that you can protect yourself. Don't walk by yourself after dark, after the party, before the party. This goes again with being with someone. It's a lot safer to be in a group, a lot safer to be with a pair than you are alone. And again, don't leave with someone you don't trust because anything can happen and we want to make sure that we're safe. And then under the picture we have, don't give into peer pressure. If you don't want to drink, don't. It doesn't matter if it's cool or if your friends are doing it. If you are not comfortable, do not do it. And if you do choose to drink, know your limits, because after you pass your limits, you can land in a very compromising situation. Not all people are trustworthy. And so to protect yourself, just know your limits and know when you start to lose coherence or when you start to lose your ability to make decisions. And this is another one. 1 in 5 women experience sexual assault on campus, and 4% of college men also experience sexual assault on campus. This is a really scary statistic if you think about it. 1 in 5, that's 20%. And that is unfortunately the reality of going to college and being in close quarters with thousands of people that you don't know. Bad things happen. And so we want to make sure that we're safe, that we have our wits about us, and that we understand the gravity of certain situations. Now we have personal safety. And this is just with any general setting on campus. Have a personal alarm on you. I have one. It was given to me by my friend's mother, and it's just exactly what it is. It's an alarm. It makes a very loud sound, and there's a flashlight. And so if you are alone, because that does happen if you're walking back from class, from the dining hall, if you are alone at night, especially now that you start to lose shorter coherence or darker light, it's darker sooner, you want to have an alarm on you, just to alert any nearby persons if anything is wrong. Know your campus resources. This could be emergency services. UConn has student health and wellness. We also have emergency hotlines. And so if you're ever in a situation and you need to call someone, know these numbers, know these hotlines. And an even easier method is to talk on the phone with someone while you walk. I often do this when UConn is a relatively large campus. It can take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes to cross it completely. So if I'm walking alone at night, like from class or from the dining hall or something, I'll talk to someone, even if they're far away, just so that you have someone with you in case something happens. And then also share your location. Share your location if you're going off campus or if you're going somewhere alone, just so you know, just so your friends know where you are, the last place you were in case something happens. And this is just to make sure that people are aware of your whereabouts and that if something happens, they know how to find you. This is continued. And this is just a few tips on what you can do, saying if you're just around. Lock your dorm room before you going to sleep. It depends on like the dorm you have. Like my dorm, I live in a suite, so I can lock my room door, but I can also lock the suite door. In a traditional dorm, you just have the door to enter your bedroom. So lock it before going to sleep, obviously before leaving, to protect your property, your things. And if you're just alone, lock it so that no one can enter without you letting them in. Be aware of the blue light systems on your campus. These are emergency phones that'll link you directly to 911 or to the campus police. The picture here, they look exactly like this, if not very similar. And the premise is that anywhere you stand on campus, you should be able to see at least one of these lights in case you need them for emergencies. Also familiarize yourself with campus, know your way around. In the horrible event that you need to escape a situation and need to find someone or need to go, like want to reach your home or your dorm on campus, know your way around, especially at night, so that you can reach those places quickly. Again, try to avoid being alone at night. Sometimes it's unavoidable, well, words. but try your best to be around as many people as possible. And if possible, take a self-defense class. That sounds like, whoa, but UConn offers jujitsu club and classes. I know that UConn PD offers a self-defense sessions every semester or every other semester. So you can take those, and those are free. Just anything if you want to be able to physically protect yourself, if you're unable to reach your phone, if you're unable to reach a blue light, or anyone else for help. And then lastly, we have the safety of others. Again, in any situation, it could be possible that your friends are in danger, or someone you know, or just anyone is in danger. And if you want to help, you want to be able to. If you're at a party, don't let your friends leave with someone that neither you nor them trust, especially if they're intoxicated. That could be a very dangerous situation. If you notice your friends drinking past their limit, encourage them to stop, give them water, anything to slow them down so that you know that they are able to carry themselves and they're not going to be in any compromising situation. Again, don't let your friends, intoxicated or not, walk home alone at night. If you witness a situation that could lead to potential assault or any danger, try your best to remove that person from danger. Say if you see someone trying to take advantage of an intoxicated person or intoxicated friend, try your best to remove that friend from that situation. But if you feel like it could potentially put your life in danger, don't be afraid to contact 911 or any other emergencies. And overall, if you see something, say something. That's how you protect yourself and others and how you save lives. I don't think we will be asking questions unless panelists have questions. If not, thank you very much.
Thank you, Cameron. I loved your presentation. I think it was very useful. People definitely need to be told that, especially young people that are probably just entering into a college setting. Maybe these are things that they think about. So I think it was very good. Thank you. So we're going to move on to our other presentation at this time. So our other presentation is going to be law enforcement safety, and this will be brought to us by Officer Jude. So Officer Jude got his bachelor's in criminology and political science at CCSU, and he has been working as a police officer in the state of Connecticut for the past 5 years. Also very excited for this one. So let's jump right into it.
Thank you, Chloe. I was going to do a little bit introduction, but it looks like you already did it for me. So I'll just get right to the presentation. I'm just going to share my screen real quick. Give me a second. Or not. Okay. All right. Obviously experiencing some technical difficulties. For some reason, my screen won't be able to share. So the idea today is just to go over a couple of things about modern day policing. A couple of things I'm going to touch on based on is day-to-day activity of police officers, social media safety and negative peer pressure, youth, drug and alcohol abuse, firearm safety, and car stop safety. So to start off, day-to-day of a police officer usually starts with a roll call early in the morning where they're given their assignments for the day. Then they usually go to calls for service, which is when citizens call and have a concern or need advice or just they witness a crime occur and they want to document or report it to the police officer. From there, there's citizen contacts where police officers usually go about their day and try to make contact with people of the public and kind of just talk to them, usually shop owners, and figure out what concerns they have in the areas and if there's anything that we can do to alleviate those concerns. Then there are directed patrols, which just means driving around, going to schools, checking out the schools, talking to students, amongst other things as well. And lastly, we conduct motor vehicle stops if there's a violation that we see. And usually the purpose of the motor vehicle stop is to educate the person, one, on the traffic violation they did, because we as police officers investigate in-depth accidents where we see that these violations have caused, either someone to be permanently harmed or either emotionally or physically, or has caused somebody to die. So when we do our traffic stops, we do it for the purpose of educating the public that, like, listen, this is what it is. We're not here to pick on you or whatever it is, but we just want to make sure that we're keeping our community and ourselves safe. As for social media, I've investigated a lot of cases now with juveniles, especially of where they are sexting on social medias like Snapchat, where they're getting bullying from, or they're getting bullied by other students or unknown people because of them exposing themselves or doing unbecoming things about themselves. And also, social media is child predators' paradise. They're on there pretending to be juveniles or other kids, and on there they try to arrange things and try to meet up with them, or try to solicit pictures and stuff like that. And usually it goes unnoticed or unreported to the parents because of the fact that the juvenile, by the time it's done, they're so embarrassed by it that they don't want to say anything, and which ends up being a reoccurring cycle. Going on to drug and alcohol abuse, there has been a huge thing right now with vaping that I've been talking to with other medical professionals that I know. They're saying that vaping has just become the new smoking. Obviously, a lot of people think because it doesn't smell like cigarettes and it doesn't look like a cigarette, that's actually safer. In actuality, in 2017, the big tobacco companies like Marlboro, Camel, I think there's another one, and Newport, they all rebrand themselves and started putting out products like Juuls or the vaping pens, the vaping stuff, so that way they make it look less appealing to the adults and they're more appealing to the juveniles, and they disguise them to look like candy or bubble gum and all these different flavors and make them smell appealing as a way to attract those kids. But don't be fooled. Those vaping juice contain nicotine, which is highly addictive, contain lead, as well as other medical particles from just the pure manufacturing of the components of that, the vaping pen. And so I'm sure everyone here is aware of the fentanyl epidemic that's going on right now, that's being laced in everything from marijuana to what you can think of. And obviously the concern is that just a little bit of fentanyl, like less than a grain of salt, is enough to actually incapacitate somebody fully. And if you don't have Narcan, which is a counter agent to fentanyl or to any opioids, you could potentially die. So just want to be cautious, and just if you see any powder that's tan or white or anything like that, just stay away from it. Don't even touch it. Contact your local police department and let them know that you've located it, and leave it where it is. So that way, once the police officer gets there, they can actually investigate. And two, just touching it is able to seep through your skin, and you could also become incapacitated and potentially OD. Going on with that, going to talk about firearm safety as well. I know it's not something that's usually discussed, but I think it's pretty important. I always tell everyone, if you're inside of a home and you locate a firearm, treat that firearm and all firearms as if they are loaded. That means that there's a bullet in the chamber, and if you put your finger anywhere near the trigger or the trigger guard, there's a potential that you could activate the mechanism of the firearm and make that bullet go off and unintentionally injure yourself or someone that you love or someone else, and you don't want to be responsible for that. So the tips I would say, if you find one, leave it where it is. Do not touch it. Call, if it's inside of a house, call the responsible adult. Let them know that you locate the firearm, and to let them know that, hey, they need to store this properly. Secondly, if you locate it outside, do not touch it. Leave it where it is. Contact your local police department immediately, and stay on scene until police arrive. The primary reason for you to stay on scene until police arrive is because they want to know more or less, like, hey, how did this come about? And one, it helps them with the investigation, and two, it helps you, so that way your mind is clear of what's going on and you get going about your day. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is motor vehicle stops. I know that's a huge topic on everyone's mind lately as well. The tips I have is just, if you're again pull over whenever it's safe to do so. If you're once you do pull over and you're stopped, and police officers also stop, roll down all your windows, especially if you have illegal tents. Turn the car off, and do not move around the car and try to locate documents prior to the police coming up to your window and talking to you. And be respectful to the police officer, and be mindful that you have a family that loves you, and so does the police officer. And at the end of the day, like I said previously, the primary reason for the motor vehicle stop is usually to make sure that you're aware of the violation that is conducted. And if you're be respectful and your understanding of what it is, more likely than not, it's either going to be a warning. And if it is an infraction, you have the right to take it to court, and you could plead your case in court. With that being said, just don't, just closing remarks, just remember that police officers are just members of the public, like we are, like everyone. A police officer interaction could be great, good, insignificant, or bad based on attitude. That's the attitude of the police officer as well as the attitude of the person in the public, because you could escalate the situation based on just the way your attitude towards the police officer is. And if you are getting to the point where it's becoming like it's going to look like it's an arrest, just comply with whatever orders that's be given. And if you have any disagreement with the reason for the arrest, don't argue with the police officer, just comply, and then take that disagreement to court, and then let the court hear it. On the side of the road is not the proper place or time to make that argument being heard. Lastly, social media is being used by child predators, and just be really cautious to the parents, to the kids. Just be cautious to who you're talking to. And if you don't know the person personally, just don't even engage into any sort of activities. Block them and then keep it moving. I know one of the presenters is going to talk more about social media stuff, so I'm not going to go too far into that. But that right there pretty much concludes my presentation. If you guys have any questions, please take a second and ask. I'm more than willing to answer.
There is a question that came from YouTube, and JD or Chloe, can you please ask the question of Officer Medina? So I'll just ask the question. So the question is actually coming from one of our viewers, and she's asking, what recommendations do you have for school administrators to combat bullying? What advice for youth who are being bullied?
Just based on my experience, a lot of the school administrators that I've dealt with when it came to bullying cases, they usually are right on top of it. Before it even comes to my desk to investigate, the school already talked to both parties that's involved, talked to the parents that are involved, and they're already handing out disciplines. But then again, I'm fortunate that the area that I work, the school system is pretty good, and they're right on top of it. There are state laws that the governor had passed probably 5 years ago, if not more, which requires that these investigations, if there's any allegation of bullying, these investigations must be done thoroughly by the administrators, and then they have to contact the police, as well as the parents can contact the police. As for advice to school administrators, is that just do your best to try and figure out what the story really is, because sometimes by the time it comes to your desk, it may sound like it's a bullying case, and then it ends up being where it's just a disagreement between two parties, and it's just kids being kids, unfortunately. But there are times that there are legitimately bullying case, and they're not what our generation is used to, where the kid is walking down the hallway and gets snuffed into a locker. It's more online now, where kids are sending things to other kids, and those kids are saving that and then using that as a way to make them do other things that are not, that's unbecoming, pretty much. But yeah. Anything else? No.
That was very useful. Thank you so much. Do we still have our host on to introduce the next speaker and to thank Officer Medina?
Yes, thank you, Officer Medina. I really liked your presentation, and I really do appreciate which one of the things you had said at the end about like getting into an altercation with another officer, like on the road or something. A lot of people aren't educated, or they may be, but sometimes they're just really stubborn. Sometimes a lot of things that can be avoided just by being silent and just being cooperative with what the officer says. Can sometimes get people into trouble, but thank you for just reminding people again, if something like that does happen, you could resolve those issues in the court so other things don't happen on the road that doesn't need to happen. Our next speaker would be Lieutenant Felicia Graves, and she'll be talking about fire safety.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Graves. I'm a firefighter in Hartford. I've been a firefighter in Hartford for 13 years. Actually, in May, it'll be my 14th year. So I love it. And thank you guys for all having me today. And I hope you guys learned something maybe that you didn't know about fire safety that you can bring home to your families and anyone that you love. So I'm gonna share my screen. I was gonna show a video, but if we have enough time, we might do that, but I will show you my screen for a few other things. Okay, so right here, we're first going to talk about fire safety. And one of the things that is really important in learning about fire safety is having an escape plan. So having an escape plan is super important for you and your family, just in case a fire does break out in your home. And some of the things that you need to know about having an escape plan is making sure that everybody's on the right page. So everyone in your family needs to sit down one day and plan this out together so that when something like this does happen, or even if they're home alone, they'll know what to do. So one of the important things about an escape plan is, again, having everyone in the family on the same page. And also the next step is having 2 ways out. So I know some of you may live like on a second floor or maybe in an apartment building. You can still have this escape plan, because even in those situations, there are different ways that you can make to get out of your home. So if you just live in a single family or a second story, you have more than enough ways. You have your front door, you have your back door, you have the windows on the first floor. And one of the things that makes this important for your escape plan that a lot of people don't realize about fires is the more oxygen that you introduce into a fire, the bigger that it gets and the faster it grows. So if you close the doors while you're doing this escape, then you'll limit the spread of that fire. So having those 2 ways can give you multiple ways to leave out, but also closing your door while you do that can give you a longer time, because usually it takes maybe like 2 minutes for the size of a living room. It usually takes maybe 2 minutes for that to get engulfed in flames. And I'm sure it takes longer for a few of us to put on our clothes in 2 minutes. So you definitely want to make sure those are things that you're thinking about when you're creating your escape plan. And also having a meeting place outside. So when you go outside, especially if you have kids in the house, maybe the neighbor's house can be a place that you go. If the fire breaks out, you could let them know they are safe with their neighbor, make a relationship with somebody that lives down the street with you so that you guys can have that communication. Also, a tree that's down the block, a mailbox, anything that you guys as a family decided to put together, you want that to be your meeting place. So after you get outside, of course, 911, call 911. And I know for the young people listening, a lot of you use cell phones. In Hartford, for our cell phones, if you call dispatch, if you call 911 and let them know, oh, I'm at a fire, and you just say that you're at a fire, they're not going to know where you are. So what we use is these towers, and your cell phone uses the towers and it beings within that area. But if we'll know the area, but we won't know the exact address. So make sure when you do call 911 that you tell them that your exact address. And I know a lot of people don't use landlines anymore, but if you use a landline, you can skip that step. They'll know exactly where your address is for the fire department. So that's one of the little differences between the police and fire. We don't get that, we don't have the technology to know if you call from a cell phone where you are. So make sure, again, that you let us know what your address is. And practice this escape plan. Make sure you practice this with everybody, because if you're not on the same page, When panic sets in, a lot of people do a lot of things that they don't think that they normally will, but because panic has set in, they might do something that will put them in danger. And if everybody's not on the same page, it's not going to work. So making sure you have your escape plan with your family, you have 2 ways out, that meeting place. If you're going to be using a cell phone, make sure you let dispatch know if you live in Hartford. It might be different in different towns, but you want to make sure if you're a Hartford resident that you let them know if you're calling from a cell phone, and just be outside and close those doors. Because if you confine that fire into that one area, then you will limit the damage to possibly yourself and your property. And that's really important. We're going through a lot of hard times and we want to make sure that we're safe. And if you lose it in the fire, because that's another thing that I do. I help relocate families that deal in fires. So if somebody does have a fire, I work with Red Cross and we put them in a hotel. We make sure that they have somewhere to go in case they are affected by a fire. So we don't want that for you guys. So we want you to make sure you have that escape plan before you do get into that situation where you have to meet me under those type of terms. But a big part of that escape plan is also having smoke alarms, guys. Smoke alarms are one of the biggest parts of your escape plan because they alert you actually that there's a fire. So if you guys do hear the smoke alarm go off, you want to get out and stay out, and you make sure that you teach this also to the young people. I know sometimes they see grown-ups, if there's a cooking fire on the stove and we put it out and they're like, Mommy and Daddy, why didn't we go outside if the smoke alarm went off? And that's a good time to have that conversation with the young kids about what fire safety is and why you made a decision not to go out because it may have been a small fire that you can contain. I'm gonna get out of the share real quick and go to a different slide for you guys. Does anybody have any questions while I'm doing that?
I just want to make a comment. I think
Yes.
you take so much of what you've just said for granted. So I just want to tell you, thank you for reminding us of how important it is to have a plan.
Yeah, a lot of people, we get comfortable. It's just human nature. We only really realize when something is going wrong is when it's happening to us immediately. So I just want us as all people to be proactive, not reactive when things like this. So make sure you have a plan so that when something like this does happen, you're all set and everybody knows what's going on. And I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm not able to share the smoke alarm one, but I'll give the information on that. So smoke alarms, we definitely get annoyed by those. They go off when we're cooking, but you want to make sure that you have working ones in your home. Right now, I have a program in Hartford. So if you are a Hartford resident and you have a 1 family, 2 family, or 3 family owner occupied, we install smoke alarms for homeowners. So if you guys have any, if there's any homeowners or young people that tell their parents, we install smoke alarms. So that smoke alarm is really important because it just alerts everyone in the home that there's a fire, there's smoke in the area. And once you know that, you can take your steps by using your escape plan to get out the house. So smoke alarms right now that we're actually giving out are 10 years. So those don't have to be changed so we usually change the batteries. We tell people to change their batteries every time change. So that's almost every 6 months. So if you don't have a battery powered one, then some people have the hard wire that are in their electrical systems. So just making sure those are all working and clear of dust and smoke. So you want to test that once a month, your smoke alarms. I know we're not very vigilant in that. We usually if we know it's working, we know it's working, or we think we know it's working. And also the beeping. that is an indication that you need to change your battery. So if you do hear beeping in your smoke alarms, it's either time to change it, or if you have a hardwired system, it could be just a malfunction in your system, and you should definitely get that checked too. About smoke alarms also, you want to make sure that they are not covered by anything, that they're in every living room, your bedrooms, maybe like your living areas, like not the kitchen. We do not want to have smoke alarms in the kitchen because the smoke and the grease and all of that can make it go off. So just in your living room, every bedroom, every level on your house, you also want to make sure you have smoke alarms. Again, I want to iterate on the door closing. Smoke alarms also are great for that. I've been to fires where a person wasn't able to get out, but they did hear their smoke alarm, so they closed their door because a lot of fires, especially in Hartford, cooking fires and night fires are our biggest culprits. And making sure that you have your door closed helps stop that spread of fire. And when you look at some of the videos, you can find videos online that actually, there was a campaign a few years by the NFPA where they talked about close your doors before you go to sleep. So it's called Close Before You Doze. And because of that, they put a video together showing how much smoke and fire can affect the person in the middle of the night, especially when they're sleeping, if they don't close their doors. And smoke alarms are also important because if you don't hear that first, then you're not gonna be able, we're sleeping. We're not, most of us don't wake up that quick. So the smoke can get to you before the fire actually does. So having that working smoke alarm and closing your doors can help you if you're not able to escape from the area where that fire is. So do I have enough time to play the video or? Okay, I'm gonna play the video now.
Thank you.
Stop share. Okay, there it is.
Do you need a quick walkthrough?
Give me a second. Okay, let me see if it works now. Sorry about that. Okay.
Sure to watch the stove.
Add a working smoke alarm.
Paprika, garlic, salt and pepper for seasoning. Have a fire extinguisher handy. Cornmeal for breading. When in doubt, get out.
When in doubt, get out.
Then call 911.
Then call 911.
Hello, I'm Joseph Muhammad, President of the International Association of Black Professional Firefighters. You've just heard some ingredients for a great family meal, and more importantly, a recipe for saving lives. But did you know cooking is the leading cause of home fires? Did you know African Americans make up a large percentage of fire deaths? And the very young as well as the older adults represent 1/3 of all fire deaths. This video will give you and your family instructions for fire-safe cooking. The Stop Fire campaign addresses residential cooking fire safety for African Americans with a specific focus on the parents and caregivers of children and older adults. With your help, the Stop Fire campaign will help reduce home fires, injuries, and deaths associated with cooking. Now here's my colleague, Wilfred Anderson, and a family who will help you understand this simple recipe for saving lives. Thank you, and remember to always cook safely.
I was frying fish one Friday evening and I stepped away from the stove for just a few minutes. You won't believe what happened. I heard the smoke alarm and I ran into the kitchen. I found the pan on fire. I didn't know what to do, so I just told everyone to get out of the house, and we called 911 from my neighbor's house. The kitchen was a disaster, but I'm just happy my family got out alive.
Now, that was close. Fortunately, they got out of the house alive. As you've just heard, having a working smoke alarm can save the lives of you and your family. But watch this next scene to find out what you should do in case of a grease fire.
Oh my God, my chicken, my chicken.
In case of a grease fire, remember this recipe for saving lives. Never use water or flour on a grease fire. When frying foods, always keep a lid that fits the pan nearby, or a cookie sheet. If the fire is too large, get out immediately and dial 911 from a neighbor's phone. Never leave food unattended. Keep towels, pot holders, and curtains away from flames, ovens, and stovetops. Always wear short or tight-fitting sleeves when cooking. Have working smoke alarms in the home. Use the hush button or fan the alarm with a towel. Do not remove the batteries or disable the smoke alarm. If you have a disability, know how to cook safely with your disability and have a feasible escape plan that can accommodate your disability.
Seems like the video is still thinking, right, Lieutenant?
I know. I don't know why it would.
It's okay. So you know we're gonna have you back, and you will be able to present in person so much better when you do this video. So for now, we're just gonna ask to stop sharing since the video won't cooperate.
Okay.
Blame it on the video.
I know.
Okay.
But
maybe you wish to continue to tell us what the rest of the video was gonna say.
so the rest of the video was just an emphasis on cooking safety and making sure that you have your escape plan. So at the end of the video, they kind of brought it back to the escape plan so that if you do get into those situations and you can't control that cooking fire, that you had that escape plan to get out with your family. So smoke alarms, check them once a month. Make sure if the beeping is happening, change the battery, test them once a month to make sure that there are not any debris in them, dust. All of those little things can make them malfunction also. So just making sure that you have a functioning, working smoke alarm, because they definitely save lives. And this is why I do this. I love to help people, and making sure that everyone is safe and that they're living their best lives is definitely important to me. So making sure you guys are fire safe, please, please, please make sure you're fire safe and that you take care of yourselves, making sure that you have that escape plan and you and your family are up to date, and make sure you practice this. It's one thing to just put it in words, but you also want to practice so that you can put it into practice, and then it becomes second nature. Because again, we have our fear or flight, and sometimes you don't know how you would deal in those situations, just in case something like a fire that breaks out. So thank you so much for having me, and we will definitely go into more depth about this later on. I have some great stuff that I can bring for the kids next time. We have this contraption called the bullocks, and it lets you simulate using a fire extinguisher. So we can do that class with everybody so they can get their training in using a fire extinguisher also. So thank you so much for having me again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. That presentation was amazing. One, the fire extinguisher in the, no, not the fire, the smoke alarm in the kitchen, never thought about moving that.
Yeah.
So
and your shower too. Some people have their apartments. I've been in a lot of apartments, and sometimes their bathroom is right in the center, in like the center hallway, and it leads to the bedrooms. So if you do need to put a smoke alarm outside your bedroom, but sometimes you can forego that if it's so close to a bathroom, because the steam from your bathroom can also put out false alarms. So those are things to think about, just looking at your home, paying attention to those small things.
that is so true. Thank you. And even the practicing the exit. I don't know how many other people don't think about doing that. I didn't think about that either. So again, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for.
Of course. Our next presenter is going to be Roman Mitchell, and he's going to be sharing with us a testimony, So take it away, Roman. Very excited to hear what you have to say as well.
Thank you so much for the good introduction, Chloe. And thank you again, because I learned a lot during that meeting about, firefighting and things of that sort. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about, managing and kind of getting used to this new environment if you're going off to college or you're moving out, or just things of that sort that we have to adjust to, as we get older. So I'm specifically going to talk about going out to college and having a lot of new influences around you. So I'm a second-year student. I'm a student guide, so I'm part of a program that does mentorship for underrepresented minority students every year. So it's a year-long process. They come a little bit early in the summer, and we tell them about all the resources. We just tell them about everything, and then we just keep in contact with them throughout the semester, and we help them with everything. Obviously, school is important and academics, but just life. Trying to find out what they want to do. And one of the things we see a lot is just there's so many different influences when you get to college. And a lot of people, especially people coming from strict households, whether that be, really strict parents or really strict Christian parents. A lot of people, kids, they like to, venture out, of course, and do whatever it is they want to do, whether it's drinking or smoking or whatever activity they want to partake in. So I just kind of want to talk about just ways to maneuver around that and make sure you're staying safe. So, for example, first thing I'd say is when you get to college is to not try everything just because you can, just because it's an option. You can find many of fun things to do that don't involve, going out, getting drunk and going to parties, which is very dangerous. But if you do want to decide to do that, like, it said before, the buddy system is good. Make sure you know your surroundings in your campus so that you're talking with people that protect you during these times. And my personal experience, I've had friends that have decided to go that route. And most of them, I think, have been safe, thankfully. They've, not gone past the limit with drinking or tried any other drugs. They stay with themselves or with their friends, and they don't overextend themselves. But with people I have seen overextend themselves, some people end up in the hospital just because, I don't know, food poisoning, blood poisoning. So I'd say that's one thing to look out for, is just too many influences. So don't jump at, people want to be your friends. They want to go out to this party tonight, go over here the next night. Being confirmed in yourself, faith in yourself, and say, okay, I don't want to do this, or I don't feel comfortable going to this level, things of that sort. So that's one. I'd say also to kind of find groups that are like-minded like you. So if you don't want to partake in these things, or you don't really want to be involved with what it entails, then there's many spaces you can go on campus, whether it's clubs, organizations, where you can find stuff that you could do that doesn't really involve this on campus. Because I know sometimes most people think the only way to really meet people in college or have fun, enjoy yourself, is to party. But there are also some other options you could look into if that's something you don't want to do every weekend, or you just want to chill sometimes. So I'd say look into that as well. Going along with that, I'd say, when you're facing a lot of new influences, it's good to talk back with people from where you're from. So, for example, calling your parents. Maybe you don't want to talk to your parents about these things, but if you have older mentor people you could talk to about maybe using substances or parties or anything of that sort, I feel like that's the best thing to do. Most colleges, I believe, will have some sort of mentor program. Some of them aren't very well. The first mentor program I was in was very not helpful, to be honest. But the one I'm in now, the one that I'm a part of, that I'm a mentor in, it's really helped students, acclimate into college and find out what they want to do sooner than later. Because I think that's important to figure out what you want to do sooner than later, so you don't waste a whole semester or a whole year, just fooling around, messing around. And it could actually be very bad to your education if you're not focused or you're not balanced. So those are some of the things I have to say about that. If there's any questions, I'll be free to answer them. And another thing I would say is to be aware of your resources in college, because there's plenty of resources that can help you manage these new influences. There are a lot of bad, but there are some good. There are people that are willing to help you in your financial career or teach you a little bit about studying habits or things of that sort. So these new influences, although there may be a heavy, a lot of bad ones just because people around you are doing these things, there's also very good. Get into that as well. Me personally, there's actually at my school, we have like a little Bible study we do, and it's really nice. So, there's things you can find, or if you can't find them, you can start them up yourself. So just be careful, manage these influences, stay firm in what you believe, and continue to go in that way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roman. I love your testimony, and I can definitely agree with that too, because sometimes as young Christians, when you go out in an environment, sometimes you don't really know. You may feel that you have to do everything that you see, but really and truly, just stand strong in your beliefs and stand firm. And even if you do have a slip up or something like that, it's okay because we're all human. But reach back out to God for all help and strength. Next we have Mark Jenkins, and he's going to be talking about harm reduction, the youth and the pandemic. Yes.
Thank you, JD. I saw that Mark was on earlier. And Mark, if you're still here, please let me know. You can just say yes. Okay. So I think we're going to go to the next speaker. We're going to skip right over to the next speaker. Maybe when Mark comes back on, we can put him on. So we're going to have, Chloe, did you want to introduce the next speaker after Mark?
Yes, I'm very excited. So our next speaker is Tamika Arnold, and she's an entrepreneur, and she's gonna be presenting to us on safety in self-owned. I know all of us are very excited to hear. I'm not even gonna take too much time talking about how excited I am. I just want to hear. So thank you.
Okay, are you hearing me? Okay, great. I have to say this has been very informative so far. When Cameron started talking, I'm like, what am I doing? I need to grab my book. And I started writing my notes. I started taking notes because, this is really valuable information. And I hope that what I have to share will be just as valuable. All right, so I begin to share my screen. Just one moment. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So today I'll be talking a little bit about safety and security in self-owned business enterprise. And this is not really, how to be safe. It's more of securing yourself financially where business ownership is concerned. So I'll dive right into it. Here we have what is a business enterprise. Now, according to one guy, he says it's neither a medium or a small business, it's more of a large business. Another one, Tim, he's from VPN MASH. He says, it's a legal entity possessing the right to do business on your own. Now, when I did my research on business enterprise, it was like very broad. So I decided to just jump into entrepreneurship and business ownership, which I think is a little bit more exciting. And especially for young people, they'll appreciate it a bit more. So I'm going to play a short video for you guys. So let's jump right into it. Oops.
Everyone seems to be talking about entrepreneurship these days. But what exactly is an entrepreneur? The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines an entrepreneur as someone who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a business or enterprise. Entrepreneurs are change agents. They see needs, wants, and problems as challenges to be overcome, and they know they are the people who can help to find solutions and meet needs. Entrepreneurs know that they have unique skills and talents that can make a difference in the world. They know that they can use their skills and talents to meet needs, do something in a new way, add beauty, or solve a problem. Entrepreneurs have a vision for what they can contribute to the world and are willing to do the work required to plan and launch a business or social enterprise to achieve that. When they reach their goals, entrepreneurs create jobs for themselves and sometimes even for other people. Sometimes entrepreneurs even change the world. But wait, can youth be entrepreneurs? Yes! Youth entrepreneurs often manage businesses while they go to school, working other jobs, volunteering, and taking other activities. In fact, Industry Canada has said businesses owned by youth are more likely to be high growth and are financially viable. Who are today's youth entrepreneurs? They are students, innovators, leaders, builders, problem solvers, and dreamers. They are bringing their art and design to the world, solving healthcare and environmental problems, creating jobs for themselves and others, and helping to make the world a better place.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that video. I thought it was very fitting for this session. I want to get right into the 3 C's, basically, when it comes on to entrepreneurial success. Now, an entrepreneur is someone who's considered to be curious, creative, and committed. Now, when you're curious, you have to be very open and optimistic to new ideas. In terms of creativity, you have to be inventive and imaginative. And when it comes on to commitment, you have to have perseverance. And consistency does help a lot as well. I mean, when I just started out, it was quite challenging. Sometimes you fall on your face, you get back up, but that's what entrepreneurship is about. It's learning as you go along, right? And then once you learn, you're able to help others and pay it forward. Now, I asked myself, why is business and entrepreneurship important to today's economy? Well, there are a number of reasons. It promotes social change. It's important to improve standard of living and create wealth. And not only for entrepreneurs, other businesses benefit from it as well. So it's a network of when it comes on to business ownership and entrepreneurship. And it spurs economic change and it helps to drive innovation, right? Also, it adds to the national income. Now, in terms of entrepreneurship, when it comes on to you, to me, and to you, how important is it? We look at safety, where it provides a financial safety net, and this puts in place a sort of insurance against crisis and lessen the impact of anything that may happen to you in life. Also, where it comes on to security, it gives you a peace of mind, because everyone wants peace of mind when it comes on to anything that they're doing in terms of life's challenges. So you don't have to be worried about income, how you're going to cover expenses. And also emergencies, if you have your folks to help anyone in your family, you want to be covered where that is concerned. So that is where the safety and security comes in. Also, when it comes down to entrepreneurship, you want to buy back your time. And that's a term that we use when you're actually in the working world. You give up a lot of time to your job, but when it comes down to entrepreneurship, you basically buy back your time. And what I mean by that, you don't let money work for you. Sorry, you don't work for money, you let it work for you. You create a passive income so you're able to spend time with your family, whatever that means to you, however you spend time with family. You're able to worship, because a lot of the times when we're on the job, it takes up so much of our time. So when it's time to worship or to do anything at all with our family, we really don't have the time to do that. So we're trying to create that safety net when it comes on to our life and our family. And that's where entrepreneurship comes in. And then again, you get to pay it forward, you get to help others, teach people what you've done before, and you're able to help persons, charities, family, as I said before, any emergencies. Also, you get to build a legacy. And this is something that is very big for me when it comes on to entrepreneurship, because you want to know that you're leaving something for your family, your future family, even if you don't have that. And I think a lot of the times this is something that young persons should consider. Sometimes people say, oh, I'm too young to be an entrepreneur, too young to be a business owner. But you have even the 12-year-olds, under the guidance of their parents that are entrepreneurs, and they're very successful. You get to even leave your values with your family, your beliefs, your behaviors, because a lot of times that you're not you're the only influence for your children, for your family, but once you have personally developed yourself, you're able to leave that legacy with them. So sometimes when you say leave a legacy, persons are only thinking of assets and estates. You get to leave your knowledge, and that is extremely important in entrepreneurship. Now, I wanted to speak a little bit about brick and mortar versus e-commerce. In terms of what we've seen happening today in where the pandemic is concerned, it has forced a lot of persons to now look to virtual, doing everything virtually. And we see how successful that has been in 2020, how many persons have become financially secure because of going online. Some businesses weren't able to transition as fast, and they had to be closed down, and they weren't able to reopen. So it's about being able to adapt to the current situation you're in, or adapt to the current space you're in. So I just mentioned, just to give you an idea, we have persons who are who have done a lot of work on YouTube, and they're young kids, 17, 18, they're in their 20s. They've done Instagram. TikTok is a new one, that is going pretty crazy where that is concerned, and persons are actually benefiting and creating passive income for themselves. And sometimes it surprises me these days when I hear very young persons talking about leaving a legacy, like 18-year-old, they haven't even started a family yet, and they want to actually leave a legacy for their future family. And they read books and they listen to audios that can help them to develop personally. So these things are very important when it comes on to entrepreneurship. Now, I just wanted to, I thought this was fitting as well, since it's Black History Month, just to highlight a few of our entrepreneurs, which I figure most persons on this session are familiar with. Rihanna, she's a Caribbean girl like myself, and she's been doing pretty well for herself, and she's young. So persons might say, hey, she got lucky. No, she didn't. She worked pretty hard at what she was doing, and she has now secure a future for herself and her family. And I know she's expecting now, and she can be a stay-at-home mommy. She can take care of her baby on her own if that is what she chooses to do. We have Oprah Winfrey. She's been successful for many years. We have Jay-Z. We have George Foreman. Also, these other two gentlemen. I know you're familiar with them, but so I won't go on any further. Now, this is something that I couldn't help myself to really look at, some statistics, where I looked at persons over the age of 18 in the United States, and it's over 200 million persons, right? And the reason I did this is to look at persons who are able to work legally. And then I looked at the amount of businesses that are in the United States, which is 31.7 million. And I had to do the math, I couldn't help myself, but this is like a 7-to-1 ratio. So what this is saying is for every 7 person, it could be 10, depending, there's one person who is most likely to be an entrepreneur. And it could just very well be you, right? Now, again, I wanted to share this little chart. This is basically saying how we're taught to measure success. You have a job, your salary, your job title, half and half. But what matters to you? What are your values? What do you want to secure in your future? Right? So a better measure would be, look at the job title here. That's a small fraction. Look at your salary, a small fraction. How about having your free time? How about liking what you do? Physical health, mental health. These things are so much more important. Although we need a job to survive, but the other things are so much more important. So if we don't create a balance, and we just can't have a balance between, your salary and your job title, we have to have it going full circle to be successful at whatever it is that we do. All right, so some of my recommendations, I would like to just let you guys know that it's always best to seek mentorship. So anything at all that you're deciding to do, whether it is to go into a job or to even own your business, seek mentorship so you can actually choose what is right for you. Whatever it is that you're doing, it's best to speak to persons who have done it before you, who have made the mistakes, and they're able to help you, to guide you on your journey. Another thing that's important is personal development. Now, books and audios can help where that is concerned. It's always good to read. Reading is super important. I know a lot of people maybe don't like to, but these books can help you to develop personally, because when we're just starting out in business, we have to think differently from when we were, not business owners or not entrepreneurs. The mindset definitely has to be different. And in doing all of this, taking action is important. And Lieutenant Felicia Graves, she mentioned that you need to be proactive and not reactive. Have a plan. And when you make the plan, you have to activate that plan. It's like a escape plan, as how she mentioned, escape plan with fire. You have to have an escape plan in life. So you have to make that plan, or an exit plan, whatever that may look like to you. And seek the right association. And what that means is persons who have similar core values to you. Because sometimes we associate with persons who may not motivate us, encourage us. So it's very important to do that when you are stepping out into life, into entrepreneurship. You need to have that positive environment that can help you to foster and help you to grow into what you want to be. And here are some books that I personally recommend. John C. Maxwell. I don't know if anyone knows John C. Maxwell. He's one of the leadership mentors in America, like maybe in the top 5. And here we have Robert Kiyosaki, the business of the 21st century. There's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And that's very important in business. You have to be able to speak to people. You have to be able to influence people. You have to be able to lead people. And all of this ties into how you're going to be safe and secure in your business ownership, because you have to have relationships. Relationships are very important in business. We have Who Stole the American Dream, that's another one. And this one is very important to me, God's creative power for finance. With everything that we do, it's always important to have the Lord in the midst. So even our finances, some people may not think that's important, but it is because the Bible does speak of it. So basically, I hope what I've shared with you guys has been very valuable. And does anyone have any questions or would like to share anything?
Well, I just felt like I sat in a corporate huddle or something, and I was just being reminded on how I need to take my little corporate stand. So I appreciate it. I feel like I should have a diploma or something now. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, and I'm glad I added some value. I just always think, that we should secure ourselves sometimes in life. It's always good to have a passive income. I remember when the pandemic started, a lot of persons were out of jobs, because places had to close down, and there were persons who had their business on the side. So they were earning passive income on the side. So they were out of their 9 to 5, but they were earning passive income on the side. And that's what helped them through the pandemic. And a lot of them were able to grow their side hustle into something big, and they didn't have to go seek another 9 to 5. So it's almost like I'm an advocate for entrepreneurship and business ownership, because, again, buying back your time is crucial. You need to spend time with family. It's very important. It's very important when you're able to raise your kids the way you want to, teach them your values, and that wasn't taught to me, growing up, because my parents weren't aware, I think. But, I love them just the same, right? But just being just being around the right people, the right association, I have learned all this. And that is why I like to share it with others, with younger persons, even with older persons, once I can add value.
Okay.
I'm always happy to do so. Yes.
Thank you. We'll definitely be inviting you back. Thank you. You can stop sharing now. And we're going to ask JD or Chloe to please introduce our next speaker.
I just wanted to also say thank you very much, Tamika. I want to be an entrepreneur. I am going to be one. Right. I've always listened to my own name. So I paid really close attention to what you were just presenting. So thank you for that.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chi Daniels, and they'll be talking about social media / internet safety.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So delighted to be here. I'm very excited about the information I have to share. I don't know if you can see it, but I think you have an idea of what I'm going to be presenting tonight. And so there's a lot of content, a lot of information we're going to go over. So I want to take as much of advantage of as much of the time as I can. I work in information technology. And so, what we're going to be talking about tonight, which is being secure in an unsecure world, it really deals with a lot of things that we may not take a lot of things that we take for granted, but we don't really consider. So the point of the conversation is to inform and then adapt, right? We're not trying to stoke fear. We're not trying to create paranoia, but there are a lot of the things that we take for granted. We don't really consider a lot of the risks that are out there. So we're just going to have a short conversation where we discuss some of those things, and I'm going to share some information with you, and hopefully it will bless you, and then you can share that information with someone else. I personally have worked in technology for the last 20 years and still do so today. So, I've seen a lot of things. I don't know that I'm going to share. I will share like 1 or 2 stories along this journey, but I'm going to ask that you get a pen and a paper. I have my pen and paper right here. Make sure you take some notes because we're going to be going over a lot of information. When it comes to security and being secure, I want you to think of it like defensive driving, right? So for the people that drive, you know that there is a defensive driving course where you spend 6 hours and they teach you how to avoid the obstacles on the road, right? It's really meant to protect yourself because you don't know the intentions of the people that are around you. In the same way, I want you to think about defensive web surfing and defensive interactions on the internet. You can't necessarily assume that everyone